Good morning. If you're online, the meeting is beginning a few minutes late because we do not yet have a quorum. We should have a quorum by 9:15 to 9:17. We will be starting promptly when the quorum arrives. Thank you. We are delayed in starting the meeting until about 9:15, and we will be starting shortly. Thank you.
Not with the sides, not with the,
We have a huge number of pull-ups for kids that fall on. I mean,
That's good.
hundreds and hundreds.
And the teachers stay up, and the teachers stay after and help them?
all right, everybody, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. We are here to talk about transportation technology discussion. We're gonna start with that. This is our steering committee, which is also our executive committee. Madam Executive Director, you have the floor.
Good morning, thank you. Apologize to everyone online for the delay in starting the meeting this morning. For today's agenda, I've added one non-agenda item at the beginning, just a constant contact and public outreach update before we get into the content of policy. So we'll jump right in. So I just want to give you, I know everybody's on the constant contact list, but I just want to give you another refresher of what the emails are looking like that are going out to our list on a regular basis. So first you see, this is a reminder about today's policy discussion about transportation. So that's,
Excuse me, Barbara, if I may interrupt you. Could you put this on our screen, please? Is there ability to put this on our screen?
Can I put it on the screen?
No, is there anybody back there?
Can anyone hear me in the back? Can you put that on the member screens?
Just so we turn
Yeah.
around that way and looking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so every email is formatted very similarly. Maybe it's a meeting announcement. I know you got a happy Thanksgiving, happy New Year, happy holidays kind of thing. But also what's important is the content of what's in here. Visit our website, BrowardNext, to find all the meeting materials and information. That's on every email. One at public comments. We're always taking public comments. That's always available. So we have a deadline of January 31st, which isn't a hard deadline, but it's just so that we can, whatever draft we bring to you in March, we can include some of that information and material with that, because we need to have a deadline, but comments are always accepted, no matter the date, and will always be considered and presented to you as such. Then the final part of the email is checking out the video that I sent out to you, which is just the BrowardNext kind of promotional video, less than 5 minutes, that you can share with homeowners associations, your elected officials, whatever groups of interest you may have, and that planning council staff is available for presentations to reach out to us, and we'll set up a meeting. So I just wanted to show that format. We have about 1,350 people on the email list. We have more ads than removals happening, so that's a positive thing. And I will say that we've been a little slow this go-round on invitations for public input, to go to meetings. So if anyone, we make this announcement and reminder, that's why we put it in every email, that we're always available.
Well, you haven't been slow. Response has been slow getting back to you.
The invitations have been slow, but we're available and we're happy to come to whatever meeting you may have.
I want to take just a second and say, I've gotten so many compliments on how great the website is, how great that you all have been doing with the outreach. We must be doing such a great job that they don't have any comments, but the job you have done putting together the videos, the website, the ease of access, and then the availability that you are always there for them. I've got great feedback from North County officials that have participated and just gone online and look at things, because the access is there. So congratulations to you and your staff, and thank you.
Thank you, thanks. And, we're just always working to make sure that the information's available. So thank you for letting me just give that quick overview. With that, we'll jump to the transportation and technology. If you recall, December 17th, we had a series of subject matter expert presentations. Gretchen Cassini from MAP, Corey Cuff Lonergan from Broward County Transportation, Peter Gies from the MPO about the Metropolitan Transportation or Long Range Transportation Plan, Daniel Smith from FUT about technology, Bluetooth technology, how it's working on the state roads. Andrew Riddle from the MPO, who spoke about basically digital twin smart cities. And then we provided some additional information on technology for parking and transportation. And the feedback that we got at that meeting was, before I get to the feedback, this is a slide that I stole from Corey Cuff Lonergan's presentation, because when I was thinking about updating the highlighted regional issues section of the Broward County Land Use Plan and the pieces and what we're really looking for mobility, I thought these are the goals, and that's why I pulled the slide over. And I couldn't edit it to give her credit, but I'm verbally giving her credit, her team for the slide. Because I think, when we think about the Broward County Land Use Plan and these overarching policies, what are we thinking about? Improving mobility, equitable transit solutions, enhancing economic development and financial stability, and safety and security. So it brought together, I thought, all of the things that we are looking forward to and towards in the county plan and in the update. So what we had identified in the transportation framework was really just the update, modification, or additional policies related to multimodal level of service, complete streets, greenways, trails. All of these policies, should we be adding in the 30-year transportation surtax plan, primo plan, and technology? So that intention from the framework remains, and we didn't receive any additional comments during the subject matter expert presentations, kind of like we did during the affordable housing and resiliency planning piece. So I think that this, recommendation stands on its own and continues. And the other piece of transportation holistically will apply is the update of the multimodal vision. And I think that's where this slide kind of came into play for me that I showed from Corey Cuff-Lonergan, was because these strategies, I think, need to be updated, modernized, and modified to ensure that we're, reflecting what we're doing in the county. And obviously, the sustainable funding source is here for another, I can't do the math, 20-some years. So, modifying that to reflect the 30-year penny sales tax. So that's Planning Council staff's proposal for the multimodal vision for the transportation piece. And there's one more piece of this, which is because we have asked for additional comments. I just want to mention these. Was able to make a presentation to the Surtax Oversight Board in December, and I would say this is also housing related, but a concern about redevelopment and densification, forcing residents to live only where they can afford along these transportation corridors. So I felt like that was kind of an editorial comment and a consideration as we move forward related to equity, though. And then we did receive an interested party comment saying, that the multimodal level of service standard must be adopted for the county to continue to urbanize. BrowardNext should prioritize transit operations, and the county should adopt the upcoming Broward Safety Action Plan and Low Stress Multimodal Master Mobility Plan as mandatory. So, I just wanted to present those. Those are the main transportation comments that we've received to date. So I think we're headed in the right direction, and unless there's any additional comments or input for this, this is what we'll be working on for Planning Council staff for the multimodal vision, anything for complete streets, anything related to that. And I would turn it over to you.
Excellent, thank you, Barb. Mayor Levy, then School Board Member Zeman. Mayor Levy.
So, good morning. Just, I know, Barbara, you had mentioned that, these were comments received. I kind of take exception with the first comment about how the strategy of promoting and encouraging densification along the transportation corridors necessarily creates any discriminatory practice. I don't think that is an equitable outcome issue. It says that affects, that residents can only live wherever they can afford. Well, that's a reality of life everywhere, that you can live where you can afford. If you choose, you can choose to live where you can, but we're all limited by where we can afford. Everybody would love to, maybe a lot of people would like to live on the ocean. I can't, and a lot can't, and so we don't. If I could, maybe I would. So I don't know that that's an appropriate comment that we should be devising our strategy over, personally. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. School Board Member Zeman.
Thanks so much. My concern really is with the length of time for which this work is supposed to apply and our approach to technology. I think that there are mountains of evidence that our lives today are fundamentally different than they were 7 years ago because of technology. And 7 years from now, it's going to be 10 times faster than the last 7 years. And yet, we're still thinking about technology in terms of, kind of traditional 1980s technology discussions. I'm talking about Ray Kurzweil, Jonathan Haidt, Peter Thiel's thinking about how technology actually changes the communities, and then how do we think about the use of land separately. So a few examples. There's a massive amount of data. I mean, besides AI and machine learning, advanced analytics, and all those wonderful things, and the amplification of all things, which has made fundamental changes, but data centers are essential for communities. Data centers take land. Data centers, more importantly, take a mountain of energy. And if we don't have sufficient energy in South Florida to deal with data centers, we literally are going to be falling behind the world in terms of taking advantage of technology. It's also going to, faster than any one of us want to admit, eliminate the use of human-driven cars. Does that have an impact on land use? I think it has a big impact on land use. I think it has a big impact on transportation options. And I disagree with you fundamentally, sir, about equity. I think Broward County, as a county government and a combination of 31 municipalities, has not thought equitably about lots of the investments that we've made. And my school system, and I'll put on report for that, we built schools in disparate areas that are exactly what you minimally need to house children in school and give them learning. We did not fund playgrounds. We did not fund fields. And if you look where high-density black and brown people in Broward County live, there are schools there that don't have athletic fields and don't have playgrounds because we gave sufficient land where we used to redline districts, and the history of redlining is still with us. And so going forward, we have to think about that and make sure that we don't do that again. I'm not going to go through the history lessons here, but I just think on the equity point, we just have to be thoughtful about that. I don't think we need to show preferences or count heads in certain ways that are counterproductive, but I don't want to invest going forward in ways in which we don't think about the people who don't have those opportunities. And I just don't think that the way that this was discussed earlier is appropriate. The technology issue, though, is a big issue. I really believe it's going to change the way we need to think about land use. And there are some people who have written about kind of how technology is changing our lives and how accelerated it has become. And I think that if we don't capture that when we do long-term planning, we just run risk of being left behind.
Thank you. Mayor Levy, I've got you. I'm going to jump in there for a second. I think what you said is important. I mean, things that have been done in the past, we have to be cognizant of. I do think the statement where I do agree that this is a statement that we should adopt is wrong. I don't think that we are ever going to do something like that at this committee, look at something and say, allow discriminatory practices to move forward. We're not going to do that. And the comment that is basically a comment that is a fact of life for everybody, that it affects forces of residents to live only where they can afford. That affects every single person in this room. No matter what, we can only afford where we can afford to live. We can't live beyond our means. So I think what you said is important, Dr. Zeman, that we have to be cognizant. We've made mistakes in the past, but you mentioned the ones the school board has made. Let's not do that again. So I think that's important. But let's not also support something that's going to adversely affect the opposite direction, and we're, call balls and strikes when we shouldn't be. We just need to be fundamentally doing the right thing for our community. Yep. Mayor Levy.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, the reading of the statement is that redevelopment and the whole, I think, prevailing strategy in Broward County and throughout our cities is, well, from a transportation access standpoint, and from a community growth standpoint, we've all identified, county commission, city commissions across the county, that those main transportation corridors are where the transportation network can handle the densification. That if Broward County is going to grow in population, where could additional people live in Broward County? And understanding that we've grown out as much as possible, and the only real way to grow up is to grow up, and that's the strategy is to be along the transportation corridors. I don't think that's a necessarily bad place to live. The suggestion that is an undesirable place to live, according to the statement here, I don't think is a valid one. I think no matter what your income level, there could be high value, expensive housing along corridors that is attractive, and also we're building a lot of affordable and attainable housing along those same corridors next door to a nice new condominium.
Yes.
So I think a lot of new residents are going to find themselves attracted to the transportation corridors. We're creating urban centers. A mix of incomes is the story of Hollywood. It's a story of Broward County.
It is.
And I don't think we should look at it, the suggestion by the statement that locating along the corridors is a not attractive place to be, I don't think is an accurate one.
Mayor,
That's my
I don't
point.
think this, I just want to say, I don't think this is a statement that we either support or refute. This is just a comment that came back to us that they would like to share with us. So I think from staff's perspective, they're just trying to share with us what the comments were because they were so limited. This was very few, but go ahead.
Right, right, exactly. I was just reporting the single comment that we received at the meeting and discussion. If I could just weigh in for a moment on the
Absolutely.
overall discussion, I just want to recognize that one of the strategies that will be being updated is that recognizing and addressing the transportation and housing connection. And I think that that's really, this is going to the foundation of this discussion. We're going to be building on that, updating it and modernizing it. I'd add also that Karen Friedman from the MPO, we spoke before the meeting this morning, and the MPO staff who provided two of the very robust presentations at the transportation discussion, and one of them was related to digital twins and the technology from that. We'll be providing some comments to update and modernize the plan and the policies in this multimodal vision. And I think that's going to be extremely helpful because I think, obviously the MPO is at the forefront of many of these topics, and it's going to be able to provide some great guidance, I think, for the committee and the planning council.
Thank you.
If I could, Chair, just one last thing on technology.
Yes.
So yesterday I was having a conversation with a community member who was describing excitedly about how his vehicle has autopilot and that it takes you where you want to go, and that his daughter was going to be driving the vehicle and she can get to school without making a wrong turn because the car is going to drive itself. I haven't driven one of those completely self-driving cars, so I don't know really the extent of the features. It sounds, door to door, like it'll take you there, stop signs, traffic signals included. Made me think about the county and its strategy to equip sensors throughout the expectation. I thought that technology required that there be sensors around the entire, traffic ways of the county to make these automations possible. This, vehicle, I think it was a Tesla, apparently does everything with cameras. So to the school member's point about technology moving quickly, I don't know if anyone has any feedback, Barbara, on and we talk about technology and transportation and how, quickly technology is moving is already, maybe it's a question to Corey in the county more, but, the technology and the infrastructure needs seem to be shifting as well, like very quickly.
Absolutely, and I would add to that, right? We're talking about these sensors for self-driving automobiles or automated or whatever we're calling it. But it's also, I think, related to how is parking impacted by that, right? Because one of the discussions when we're talking about affordable housing is that local governments should consider parking reductions, right? And there's a real reluctance of that. But at the end of the day, that really could become a reality as parking technology changes and becomes different. So I think it's all of the pieces, and I don't think there's just a single thing to address it. But I believe, I'm confident that we'll be able to have something in the plan to kind of address this modernization and this quick pace, fast changing.
And let's be, completely transparent. We're constantly looking at what we put in the plan, even though we do this every 7 years. We've done 3 or 4 updates in that 7 years because we're constantly seeing what's working, what's not working. So I imagine, and I know, don't imagine, I know we're going to be the same thing as technology changes at a rapid pace. We're going to say, we've got stuff in the plan that just doesn't make sense, and we'll take that out. So we're not going to, this isn't set in stone for 30 years. We're going to look 30 years in the future to the best we can with the lens we have today. But it's not a stagnant piece of paper that stays forever. We'll change this as needed. Mayor Castillo.
Thank you very much. Obviously, Planning Council has always been a vested partner in the success of our transportation strategies. It's integral to everything that we've done probably since we were created. for this multimodal set of strategies, have there been any costs associated with the implementation of these that were discussed or disclosed?
So what you see before you is what's adopted in the plan today, what was adopted in 2017. And there's rarely a cost associated with the county plan because the county, that really falls to like the capital improvement elements of
Right.
the individual cities. So that's really where you would see the cost. But these strategies are made in concert with the county staff and the county agencies. So I think, they're working towards promoting the tools and pieces.
So they want the cities to pay for all this, or they?
No, this isn't, I mean, when you look
Or
at
is this
this.
a- or is this a
these
surtax,
strategies
or
are-
is this
no,
a
no, no.
surtax,
So these are the adopted visions and strategies that are in the plan today that I believe need to be modernized, and that's what's on your framework. Really, there's nothing that costs money per se for what's being proposed. Strategy MM3 was related to supporting a sustainable funding source, which was brought to fruition in 2018 with the penny surtax. So that needs to be modernized also. But there's no specific projects proposed. These are concepts and policies to lay the foundation for the local governments to
Understood.
be able to create those
So,
pieces.
Mayor,
So,
Mayor, if I may jump in, I just want to give you a real-world example. So with these strategies and policies that are in place in BrowardNext, some municipalities, I'll speak specifically for Pompano Beach, put together a multimodal task force to see how it affects them in their city, what they can do to be proactive. Carla Coleman from UL, I don't know if anyone knows Carla, she agreed to chair that
I
for
remember
us.
Carla.
She's fantastic. Then we made it a standing committee. She's now the chair of the standing committee for 2 years. But they are looking at how and they have input on what we're doing at the county level, but how it's going to affect the city of Pompano Beach and our neighbors, right? Deerfield Beach and South. So we have taken that kind of regional approach to it based on what's in our plan, and what we're doing today is saying, okay, is this still the right way to go with the overall arching plan? But the cities, local municipalities, and our neighbors to the north and south are going to be, have a lot of input and going to be important to what we do.
So I think, I mean, from my perspective, generally speaking, the aim of the strategies is generally positive. And I think most would say that, the incorporation of this into our transportation planning would, generally speaking, be a plus. I mean, however it is that it's phrased, it would generally be a plus. But in the fullest spirit of support of our partners, I think something has to be mentioned, and I've mentioned it before. When the people voted, for example, for the surtax projects, I think there was a greater sense of urgency expected that these projects would be completed while they were still alive. And what we have seen is a favoritism of financing approach toward pay-as-you-go. And pay-as-you-go is probably the best way to finance anything, except when pay-as-you-go isn't enough money to do the job. And when pay-as-you-go favors not getting the job done in a way that respects the urgency of people to need the transportation improvements that they're paying for, pay-as-you-go is actually the more expensive approach. I do not understand how, it just doesn't compute for me, and I've asked this before, and I've never really gotten, Mayor, a satisfactory answer to this question, but I do not understand why, with a recurring source of revenue, we are not looking to finance these projects in a way that applies urgency to the completion of them. We've seen some really, really good surtax projects, but most of them are just not getting done. And people are waiting, and they're asking us questions at the local level, like, hey, man, you asked me to vote for this thing, and I voted for it, and I don't see anything going on. And that's a problem, because forget about that it diminishes the expectations or is not responsive to what folks were hoping to see. It has a tendency to be bad for business because it sort of erodes public trust in in the work of government. And so I think that as a supporter of our transportation partners, because they thought enough to bring this to us and coordinate with us, we should tell them that all these ideas are great, but we got to figure out a way to finance them intelligently and to get them done while we're still young.
So,
I don't know how else to say it, because it's taking forever. And if I have to go to John Q. Public in my community and say, what do you want, multimodal transportation or the completion of Pembroke Road out to US 27, they're going to say completion of Pembroke Road out to US 27, because I'm choking in traffic on Pines Boulevard. So, and that's a project that has been going on. I think we built the pyramids quicker. So I really...
Strategy 3, and just to interrupt you just for a second,
Yeah.
Strategy 3, we need some, I think we're looking at putting some teeth into it, looking at revising Strategy 3, so we're really talking about sustainable funding for the long term, so we can then push these projects along, so we're not waiting for the pay-as-you-go. There's real funding sources
Yeah,
needed.
yeah. I mean,
So
you know.
we'll look, I think that's the comment about Strategy MM3.
Otherwise, we're just oscillating words.
I agree. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Gomez.
Well, I was going to keep my mouth shut, but you know that's hard for me.
Come on.
Part of the problem, I think, with moving at a snail's pace is the fact when all of a sudden we're doing this regional approach, the money was designated to go one way. We're now learning to go another way, and cities now need to have their own multimodal approach to things so we can have a survey done, studies done, and know where the money will be going to in order to have this regional HAID complete street or whatever project it's going to be, because the money's supposed to be designated just not for a specific road within Tamarack or a specific road in Coral Springs or Sunrise or whichever way we're going through Tamarack. If we're ready, but our sister cities aren't ready, it might make that project harder to get the funding for.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to go spend it on another project that other cities are all in line already. So part of this whole, my understanding of what we're doing is hearing the new comments, and we're going to come back and figure out how to incorporate new things that'll work better for all of the cities through the county to be able to access these funds, be able to do this multimodal vision, and be able to have a better plan in place, an easier plan in place that we possibly did not know in the past. One thing about building, through the comments that were said earlier, some of the stuff that comes down from the National League of Cities also has some dictates on how we do certain things for programming and learning how to reach out to our communities. We do that a lot better now. We now have a lot more interactions with our community where we didn't have that before. However, I will still say that some of our communities are still happier receiving paper than internet. Not everybody wants everything through the internet. They don't follow everything through Meta, Facebook, or Twitter. Used to be X or X now, whatever, the back, vice versa. So we still have to realize that we have some generational matters to attend to. And through this project, I think is how we will rework
Yes.
these items by hearing the input and being able to maybe get from A to Z a little quicker than we're moving. So,
Mayor, I'm glad you spoke up. Thank you.
oh, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. These are really good comments. I appreciate it.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, this is, and I was surprised that we got so little feedback, because this is such an important topic. I
Well,
mean, it's
and I
it's
think
a
we'll get
huge-
more-
It's a huge issue for us. That's why it's one of the 4 we're actually
Right.
tackling right now, so thank you.
Right, thank you.
Ms. Blake Boy.
So I would just ask that if the committee's in general agreement with what's before you, continuation of carrying over the framework and what we talked about generally this morning, not necessarily the comments, but just the concepts.
The direction we're heading, I think you have our full support.
Okay, great, thank you. And then just quickly, an affordable housing and resiliency update, because it's been a few months since we spoke about that at our October 31st meeting. First, I do want to give you an update about resiliency and sea level rise planning. Planning Council staff met with the Climate Resource Officer, Jennifer Hirado, and her Assistant Officer, Greg Mount, in December. And we had a very constructive meeting about many of the recommendations that you supported at the October 31st meeting, but also updating the highlighted regional issues and really upgrading the county's plan and support for those policies. So I'm really looking forward to what we're able to present to you. Our next meeting isn't until mid-February, but I'm hopeful that that will be included in the March draft. Feel very positive about it. the counties has had such a robust program, but just really strengthening that and taking that forward. So I just wanted to give you that update. And then as far as comments that have been received, I would really call this adjacent to resiliency and sea level rise, because we've gotten a lot of comments about food distribution. And there is a section in the highlighted regional issues and a kind of should policy and the recommended practices of the plan supporting urban farming. But, what we found since 2017 is that it's so heavily relying on zoning and what the local government allows. It's going to be, I feel it's still going to be represented in the county plan, but it's certainly a challenge. So I think we'll probably move it out of resiliency and sea level rise and try to find a better fit for it
Makes
to
sense.
promote the local governments. So that's the resiliency and sea level rise
Any
update.
questions for Ms. Blake Boyd? Thank you.
And then I just wanted to go through some of the comments that we received since then. And so we received a comment that there's a municipality that doesn't support expanding the recreation and open space to include a residential component. And this was in this is in our framework, and we've talked about expanding it in other categories also. So I'm just kind of taking you through these comments, and they are all at the end of the framework. So every time we receive a comment, verbal or in writing, that's falling in. So your document's always up to date. I should have added that also. Reconsideration of redevelopment unit for affordable housing set aside. That's going to be just a discussion at your meeting this morning. That was mentioned by Commissioner Rich at the December 10th meeting. She asked Commissioner Fisher to bring it to you as the Planning Council. So we'll have a discussion on the regular agenda about that today. I met with Senator Geller in December. He wants to perhaps consider the expansion of passenger rail criteria to include all land uses for that residential by right with an affordable housing component, which I think is right in lockstep with what we've outlined in the framework.
Absolutely.
He's actually holding a specific meeting next week because he just likes to stay, I think, ahead of the curve. He's invited all the cities. Planning Council staff will obviously be there to talk about 216.4, how it's working. We'll be sending out our survey, our annual survey in the next month or two to get the feedback from the local governments on that also. He also suggested expansion of accessory dwelling units to not require an affordability requirement. That's what the statute requires. We adopted into the county plan that replicates that. He's suggesting a consideration of accessory dwelling units that don't have an affordability affidavit requirement. I do think that that's also consistent with, considering all kind of solutions for densification and affordability. And then we received an interesting comment, and I think this is similar to the technology discussion about where we're going with adaptive and modular type dwelling units to accommodate a multitude of living scenarios. And what I think about when I see this comment is we've seen some things where it's basically like 8 or 10 bedrooms, and then they share a living area. They each have their own bathroom kind of thing, but they have a shared living space. And we've seen a couple of proposals like that in the north end of the county, but that's, I think, was the direction of this comment. And many of the comments that we receive, I just want to make a note of this, are really related to zoning. And, we have to be aware that local governments can always be more restrictive than the county plan. So while we're setting up incentives and we're setting up opportunities for local governments, if they're not inclined, if their, residents and citizens don't want it and they're elected officials, it's not going to happen. But also the good news is that kind of sets the cap, so there's a range that can be up there. So they can create a more restrictive incentive that works better for their local government. But I just think it's so important to remember that the county does not have countywide zoning authority, and that's often, we often lose sight of that when we're talking about these types of things.
I don't think you can say that enough.
Okay, that's
Can
why I
I-
added it in.
Are we done? Are we done with that?
Not for you.
Oh, no. Are we done with the?
I just want to.
I have one more slide.
yes.
Yes.
And that's really just the roadmap where we are. And
Oh,
really,
wow.
we're at between,
That's a very attractive,
we're between 4 and 5 right now. You know, we're 3, 4, and 5. We're all 3. We're steering committee. We've had your subject matter presentations that started in September, kind of wound up in December. Then we're actively requesting public input. And to get to a June hearing, I have an idea in my mind that we're going to present some drafts to you in March. It could end up being after summer because obviously we want to provide adequate time for public input, and we're not going to ask for public input until after you've given us your blessing or supported that. So it's still, the goal is still a June public hearing, but I could see it shifting just a little bit to after summer to do that. So I'm not setting anyone up for failure. We're still promoting that, but that's just kind of, I think, how it's working. And because we've been a little bit delayed in receiving comments, you know, it's backing it up a little bit.
It looks like we're right on schedule.
We're right on track.
So, fantastic job.
Okay, great.
Mayor Castillo.
thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to update you. I just came back from Washington DC, where I attended the U.S. Conference of Mayors winter meeting, and I have to tell you that it was quite something. I had a chance to look at the agenda before I went up there, and it was heavy on 2 major issues that we spend a lot of time on. One was the housing crisis, the affordable housing crisis, and the other was the water quality issue. In particular, they had several really, really good presentations on PFAS. And for those of us that are in cities that actually produce water, it was an eye-opening experience. The committee of the U.S. Conference of Mayors is headed by the mayor of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And the discussion was about, you know, how people are getting their arms around this whole challenge about PFAS. And so they started by saying it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's in the rain. It's in the ground. It's in your clothing. It's in the cups that we use. It's in this. It's in everything. We're surrounded by PFAS, and we have for decades. Now that these forever chemicals have been identified and connected in some way to health risks, they have to be removed from the water. The amount of PFAS that is permitted currently amounts to, now get this, amounts to 1 drop of water for every 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. It's 1 drop of that for every 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And my question, and the good news is they know how to get rid of it. They know how to get it out of the water. They're not yet sure, once they get it out of the water, what they're going to do with it. So once it's in the membranes they're not 100% sure what the best way to destroy it is, because these are, well, forever chemicals. So they're not exactly sure of that, but they're working on it. The potential for cities exceeds many, many hundreds of billions of dollars in terms of investment. When you look at how many drinking water providers there are. And my question to the biologist there was, okay, so say in my city we go for $120 million or so to retrofit our water treatment plant to take out forever chemicals. What is the benefit that health benefit that our residents can expect from this cleaner water? And he said, there's no correlation to it. I said, well, if there's no correlation to it, how do I justify to my more cynically inclined clients that it's worth the investment? And he said, because if you don't do it, you'll be held in violation. And that's probably a pretty good answer when you can't correlate the improvement to this. But then it got me thinking otherwise. So let's say that all of our efforts...
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second, Mayor. You continue, but I want to let everyone know that our meeting has a hard stop at 9:55 because they have to change over to the 10 o'clock. You continue going with the story. I don't want to interrupt you, but we are probably going to shut down as of right now. Is there anything else we need to cover?
Yeah, I'm not sure from the back. They'll be fine.
Okay, I just want to let everybody know, so we've covered the business of today. Appreciate everybody's input. Mayor?
I only have
didn't interrupt you. Go ahead.
two more seconds. So we're working real hard to make sure that saltwater intrusion doesn't come in to the aquifers. And we're working real hard. That's an important task. We should never give that up. However, as water providers go into this whole business of competing against and beating complying with the rules on PFAS, that very system is capable of desalinating the water. So it almost sounds to me like we sort of need to look at how these investments that are being made, are they being made comprehensively enough?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And I was thinking about this all the way on my flight home. That are we, as we prepare for this challenge of clarifying the water for PFAS, wouldn't it make sense to do it all at once in a way that if we're less than successful or only partially successful in this business of saltwater intrusion, that we just prepare ourselves at that very moment to deal with the whole shebang? I mean, it would almost be wasteful not to. So I don't know who I don't know if this is Dr. Harado. I know she's concerned about everything probably before the water treatment plant. I don't want to like recreate her job description, but everything sort of after we take the water out of the well. Who at the county or who can start focusing on this? Because we're talking about billions of dollars that any particular county at all. I mean, my city, the estimates are about 120 million. I don't know what it would be for you. You have a different system. You might be capable of doing it right now. We're looking at a lot of money here with water treatment. So I don't know who it is that can start getting their arms around this, but maybe it makes sense to look at this on a broader scale than just PFAS.
I think it's an excellent point. I mean, again, don't stay in the silos that are meant to be, see what else it can do. So I think I appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and I'm not sure where it goes from here, but I think it's really keeping our eyes wide open is the important part. Any further discussion on any issue that we talked about this morning? With that, we'll adjourn this meeting and take a couple-minute break before we start to 10 o'clock.
Sure, 2 minutes until the 10 o'clock.
say Happy New Year. With that, I'd like to have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner Fisher, could you lead us, please?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Good morning, Karen. Could you please call the roll?
Ms. Jessica Abramson? Here. Mayor Felicia Brunson? Here. Mayor Angelo Castillo? Here. Ms. Denise B. Fernandez?
She may be online.
I don't see her online.
Okay.
I know she had a sick child.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lamar P. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Adam M. Geller?
Here.
Mayor Michelle J. Gomez?
Good morning.
Ms. Ryan Greenberg?
Present.
Mayor Rex Harden?
Here.
Mayor Josh Levy?
Here.
Commissioner Letitia Newbold?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Raley?
Good morning.
Mr. David Rosenoff?
Here.
Mayor Michelle J. Ryan? Michael?
I'll
I'm so
accept that
sorry.
one.
I'm so
Pres-
I'm so sorry.
I'm comfortable in my person. I'm good. No worries.
Let's call him Michi.
I had no idea he was Canadian.
Parlez-vous français?
Oui, oui.
School Board Member Alan Zeman?
School Board Member Zeman is here. He may have stepped in the back room for a second, but he is here, Karen.
Mr. Thomas H. DeGiorgio Jr.
And I am here.
You have a
Welcome,
quorum.
everyone. Well, it's that time. We've got an oath of office, and this is always a fun day when we welcome a new member. So, Mr. Geller, if you could join me down at the podium, it would be fantastic. Okay, if you will raise your right hand. Take that off. It doesn't look good in the pictures. You will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state and the charter of Broward County,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state and the charter of Broward County,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of a member of the Broward County Planning Council on which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of a member of the Broward County Planning Council, of which I am now about to enter, so help me God.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So before, I'm going to call everybody down for a picture, but before I do, I have another special honor. If you would just stand right here for me, I'm going to call up our executive director. This is a little surprise to everyone. So, Ms. Blake Boy. So I think you all know a good friend of ours, Roy Rogers. Roy was in the military. Roy went to the Naval Academy. He was a commander of a submarine, and he has a special honor. He would love to have been here himself, but he asked me to pass it on. This is a command coin, and it's from the USS Abraham Lincoln. And Roy said, "I've never seen a better, more efficient executive director than that of Miss Blake Boy." Wow. He said that she and her staff do such a phenomenal job, Tommy, they make you look good. And I said, you're exactly right. So on behalf of Roy, I want to, I think those who served in the military, I did not, but this is a big honor, the command coin. So on behalf of Roy, congratulations for all that you do, the USS Abraham Lincoln. With that, let's take a picture, please. Can we get a picture, one picture of this?
Oh, with
So we're going down to get the picture?
Remember when he was with Arvida, remember?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come on down for a picture, everybody.
Okay,
You guys pretend like you like each other.
all here, please. Very good. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. And more. 1, 2, and 3. Last one. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Beautiful. Congratulations. Very cool.
Yes, my brother was in.
Yeah, I had lunch with him 2 days ago. He's slowing down, put it that way. Such a great guy. He is indeed. Okay. That's excellent. What an outstanding time. Mr. Geller, I will give, when someone comes for the first time, we give them an opportunity to say a couple words, and I put you on the spot right here, so if you'd like to say hello, anything you like, you got the floor. Just push that button, and the green, no, he's not. It's got to be green.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to serving with the board, learning more about my town, and doing the best that I can to make everybody proud. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. Okay, we have a couple reappointments today, too. So, again, more round of applause for our commissioner sitting right to my left, Lamar Fisher, is reappointed by the County Commission, and school board member Zeman was reappointed by the school board. So, welcome back, both of you. Okay, so now it's the election of officers time. We'll entertain nominations for officers.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
You may.
So I think yourself as chair and the vice chair and secretary have been doing a stellar job over the time that I've served, and just motion to retain the current slate of officers.
Second.
If they accept.
Pretty good.
If you accept.
Karen, that's a unanimous second across the board, but
Just when you think you're out there.
I wish all elections were so easy.
we have a motion by Mayor Levy to retain the officers that are in place now, which is myself, Mayor Castillo, and Mayor Gomez. And thank you for all the seconds that are out there. So with that, we'll close the nominations, I think, because of all the seconds. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor of retaining the slate of officers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Michelle? Just kidding.
That'd be you.
That's you, Mr. Ryan. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you all. Angelo, you're at a loss for words. You want to say thank you?
I want to thank the Academy. I want to thank all my friends. Let's get to work.
Okay, the next is the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee is by, I think, Andy, we're required to have 7, correct? It's the three 3
3 plus 4.
leaders
yes.
plus the 4 from the board, correct?
Yes.
This is an important role because this year we're not only doing what the Executive Committee typically does, we're also the steering committee for BrowardNext. So right now, I think we have 8 members, correct?
9.
Correct. The officers and plus the at-large members, Mayor Brunson, Ms. Fernandez, Councilmember Horlin, Mayor Levy, and School Board Member Zeman.
Excellent. So instead of being voluntold, they want to volunteer for the other 4 positions. We have 3. Mayor Levy, willing to stay on board?
I'll be happy to.
Excellent. We have our other members that are still there, willing to stay on board? Okay, so that's all.
Make a nomination that we have the mayors Large, Brunson, Fernandez, Forland, Levy, and Zeman as they stay.
They stay. Anybody else willing to serve? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Blakeboy.
Good morning. Congratulations to the officers and the steering committee, the executive committee appointments. For the consent agenda this morning, there are no additions, but I just want to note that Mr. Rosenoff was supposed to participate via Zoom, and Ms. Fernandez was supposed to participate via Zoom.
I'm here.
Oh, you are. There you are. I didn't see you. Thank you. So Mr. Rosenoff is online. And then, so I guess just Ms. Fernandez wasn't able to make the meeting today. So that would be the only addition to the agenda, consent agenda.
Excellent. So a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion from Mayor Castillo, second from Mayor Gomez, approving the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Blake Boyd.
Thank you. Item R1 on the regular agenda is actually, I talked to Commissioner Fisher's office, and I'm going to give the overview. At the December 10th County Commission meeting, Commissioner Rich requested that Commissioner Fisher, as the representative to the Planning Council, ask the Planning Council basically, if you're interested in initiating a separate amendment related to redevelopment units. So I'm going to give you a description of what redevelopment units are and why she's interested, which is redevelopment units were developed with the initial adoption of BrowardNext in 2017, and they took the place of flexibility units, which was this odd system that Broward County created in the 1970s, and we were just really trying to bring an end to this odd system, and we created a new odd system, redevelopment units. But this pool of units equates to 3% of all dwelling units that had been adopted at the time of the 2017 plan, about 33,000 units. And local governments can apply for these redevelopment units in a pool of 500 or 750 if at least 10% of the units are committed to as very low or low affordable housing. So in that case, it's only up to 50%, 60% of the median area income. So moderate does not make you able to get more units. So the reason it came up at the county commission meeting was because there was an application for the city of Wilton Manors, and they requested 750 units with at least 10% being committed to as very low or low affordable housing. I think that, not to put words in her mouth, but Commissioner Rich thought that there should be a greater amount of units. So she asked Commissioner Fisher to bring this item forward to you for your consideration of initiation of that. It's a simpler process than the county commission talked about because the redevelopment unit policy lies in the Broward County Land Use Plan, but the implementation of that lies in the administrative rules document, which means that any changes to that would be one public hearing at the Planning Council and one public hearing at the County Commission only. It does not have to go through the statutory process, which frees up a considerable amount of time because there's no transmittal required. So the requested action today really is the pleasure of the council. It's for your discussion. If you have any questions of staff before you make your decision, so I would give it back to the chair for that.
Thank you, Ms. Blake Boyd. Commissioner Fisher?
Ms. Blake Boyd actually explained it perfectly, and I think it's a great idea to do. I think we need to move it forward. The county commission kind of blessed it as well, and so we're here to take any action to move it forward, and what would that be, Ms. Blake Boyd?
So if you're, I would suggest that the Planning Council initiates an amendment to the administrative rules document, and then that would authorize staff to develop some ideas to bring forward, which I would actually request to bring to the executive committee first,
Okay.
and then bring forward to
board.
the Planning Council for your action, since it's a singular public hearing. And I would ask we could probably bring something, if it's initiated, to you in March, I think.
That sounds good.
And then it would get to the county commission by early May, probably, if you took the positive action.
Commissioner Fisher, is that a motion?
It is.
Second.
Mr. Chair, if I may have a question?
Absolutely. We have just one for the record. Motion was made by Commissioner Fisher, seconded by School Board Member Zeman. Mayor Levy.
So to the executive director, just to clarify, my understanding is that although the flex units were a 1970s creation, that still stands today and is referred to as flexibility units, and this would be additional units beyond the pool of flex units that still remain within the municipality's
Yes.
control.
Municipalities can only apply for redevelopment units.
Once
I
they've-
can't remember what the threshold is, but basically they've had to use their entire pool of
Gotcha.
flexibility. So it's the next pool of redevelopment and opportunities.
Fair enough.
Thanks for clarification. Further discussion? Mayor Castillo.
Could there be another incentive or another pool or another way to get to it when it comes to attainable housing for seniors and for workforce as well? Because the ability to flex the number of units would also improve the ability of those types of projects to go forward. So I'm thinking about a situation where a senior citizen is in need of affordable or attainable housing, or somebody who is in the workforce right now, perhaps a young worker who's, I don't know, 20-something and still has to live with mom, though they're working because they can't afford $2,800 for a one-bedroom if they can find it. That kind of person might be earning inside of 120% of median income, or the senior might be beyond the 50% of median to qualify for low housing. They might be at that 65 or 80%. If they're just living on Social Security, that might be the sweet spot for them in terms of where they fall in the dial. Might there be I'm not saying that we have to do it today, but maybe we can come back with a second level of incentive that sort of embraces the broader spectrum of what affordability means? Yes, Ms.
So
Blakely.
first, I made a mistake when I said low. I said 50 or 60, it's 80%. So sorry, below 80%, I just spoke out of term. So we are talking about below 80% for both the low and very low category. And I think certainly, we were already examining this as part of BrowardNext, but, there's been a general agreement that anything that's going to promote affordable housing opportunities kind of is expedited. We've been trying to expedite that through the process. So what I'd like to do is just keep that as a note for, further consideration.
Yeah.
Kind of keep this targeted on what this piece looks like, and then add that in for
I'm
future
all in on it,
consideration.
especially since the clarification is 80%.
Yes.
But I still think that we should be doing something to make the workforce housing category more pencil out better for that construction, because that's also a hole in the donut of our housing range. So I would appreciate it if you could keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
I think those are really good comments, Mayor Castillo, and I do think that's something we're looking at very strongly with the amendments to BrowardNext. So thank you for that. Any further discussion on the item? Dr. Zeman.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just curious, Chair, whether there's a faster way to do this. I hate for government, government in getting involved in residential housing economics is difficult. It's really, really hard to move things forward. But we hamper ourselves when we take months and months to do things. I think this is a pressing need. If we're going to do something, could we do it faster?
I'll ask you, Ms. Blake Boyd, we do have to give notice for this. There is the next meeting. So what is the fastest we can do this?
I do believe that the path that I laid out is likely the fastest. A March executive committee, you could take it to the planning council the same day, March, and that could move it up. This also depends on I don't know the county commission's schedule by heart, but we have to set a public hearing to hold a public hearing. So it's actually 2 meetings.
You have to have a notice to publish and then the hearing, correct?
Right.
So
right.
if we could do, you said May
I
originally.
mean, I think either way, you're talking early May or mid-May for expedited, and that also depends on what you agree on or what you propose as the policy,
Yes.
right? So I think there has to be
I
discussion.
do hear Dr. Zeman's concern. Sometimes we do move at glacier speed here, so we like to do the best we possibly can.
Absolutely.
Whatever that means, let's make sure we expedite it.
I love the idea of executive committee and the planning council on the same day, if that's
don't see a problem with
feasible.
that, Dr.
I
Zeman.
suspect we're going to get great staff recommendations. We'll hear them, think through them quickly at the executive committee, and then bring it here.
Okay.
Could work if
That makes a
fast
lot of
as
sense.
prologue.
I like it. Good.
No? No?
Not saying no, but I like to leave room available, because if there's conversation and things need to be changed.
Mayor, we can plan on it.
We'll plan on it, but
But
I
if
just.
if we have too
exactly,
many
just-
things where it doesn't come
Defer.
back, and we have too
Measure
many comments
expectations,
at the
yeah.
executive, yeah, we'll absolutely measure the expectations.
We're not even predisposing that it'll pass. So we can change the plan, but I just would like our plan to be best beat.
Yeah, fast as we can go.
You could always table it on,
You could vote it down.
no, you could defer it.
The mayors have taken over the meeting. Yes. Another mayor, Mayor Harden.
Thank you, Chair. Just out of curiosity, oftentimes when things, there's, word gets out that there's possible changes afoot, it expedites people's decision to do certain things. People, by people, entities could not suddenly accelerate their time frame to apply for the redevelopment units based upon what our conversation is today, correct?
Correct. It wouldn't change any application for that.
Very good. Thank you.
Mayor Levy.
And just to add one point, if there were an application coming soon or in process, the county commission, right, ultimately approving the redevelopment units could still ask, suggest, prod the applicant, hey, if we were to grant this, do you commit to 10, 15%? And they could do this ad hoc, right?
So the applications that include the affordable housing component are committed to. So when they include that 10%, it is a commitment made by the local government. The pool of 500 units does not include an affordable housing commitment. And part of what Planning Council staff has been talking about, not to get too far in the weeds of this discussion, is that should redevelopment units just always have an affordable housing requirement instead of differentiating between the 500 and 750? And I believe that's part of what we were talking about, for the direction of not just being that benefit if you do it, always having the requirement, the 10% be. And one of the other pieces of that is that while there may not be a satisfaction with that number, that 10% really is equal to what your current policies for bonus density, 2.16.3 and 2.16.4. So it's equivalent to that too. So I think what I'm thinking is going to come forward is probably maybe one or two, maybe two proposals, kind of so that you can choose what you're looking for in your direction.
Excellent. We'll look forward to you taking the lead on that. Ms. Blake Boy, appreciate everybody's input. Does everybody understand the motion is to initiate action on this item? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Fisher, for bringing that here. Ms. Blake Boy.
Council's report.
No council report today, other than to advise you that in upcoming meetings, we're going to be doing some legislative summaries of we're going to be following our legislature and trying to keep track of some of the land use items. And in discussions with the chair and the executive director, I've often stayed away from kind of getting into the zoning issues that are largely zoning, because really that is not our purview here. But they do have ripple effects on what we do. So at future meetings, I'm going to be discussing some of what I consider hot topics. There's going to be likely some action with regard to recovery residents and group residential homes, which for municipalities is a very, very big issue and touchy issue, as well as we're going to take a look at some of the issues being raised with regard to the homeless issue and the legislation passed in that regard, and some other acts that there are some action in the religious freedom realm, which has a real zoning and comprehensive planning effect. So we're going to broaden our reviews and possibly discuss a few more things, or I'll be discussing them with you, just to keep you abreast of those items as we move forward.
Sounds great.
So that will be starting at the next meeting.
Thank you, Andy. Ms. Blake Boy.
Thank you. Executive Director's report. So obviously, welcome to Mr. Geller. We had a very productive, I think, orientation, so hopefully he knows that our door is always open to staff to be of assistance for him, so welcome. And again, congratulations to our same new slate of officers. It's always a pleasure working with all the council members, and I feel like the past couple of years, we've really had a productive and great working relationship. So thank you to everyone. And thank you to Mr. DeGiorgio for making the presentation for this coin, because I feel very special today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll make sure we send some photos to Roy Rogers of the presentation. So thank you for that.
Excellent.
Just a couple items for the executive director's report. BrowardNext update, we haven't all been together since October, but the steering committee has been together a couple of times. They had a committee meeting October 31st. We actually all dressed up. It was all in costume. You guys all missed it. But we had a steering committee to discuss just kind of the directive to staff and regarding affordable housing and resiliency planning, and it was, I think, a really great conversation. And subsequent to that, Planning Council staff has met with Jennifer Corrado and Greg Mount from the county's Resilient Environment Department to talk about strategies and updating, really kind of getting into the meat and detail of the highlighted regional issue and some of the policy issues related to resiliency planning. So we're really excited about what that's going to look like when we start bringing the draft, as well as affordable housing. But I think, those two topics, we had really great discussions and a lot of public input, and we're still getting ideas and how to expand, like this change to redevelopment units and how we can make the plan better, work better for local governments and for the community. So that's where we are. We just had, we had October 31st, the steering committee, December 17th, we had a transportation, 5 transportation professionals presentations, and we had that discussion this morning before your regular meeting, again with some direction and some follow-up regarding affordable housing and resiliency planning. And just so a reminder to everyone that all of the materials are always posted on the broward.org/BrowardNext homepage. That includes videos. If you're interested in seeing any of the presentations, any of the PowerPoints, I think, are great resources for the municipal staffs, really just kind of to weed their way and wade their way through, pulling a couple of items of information that I think are just applicable, for many local governments, and I think it's turning into a great resource. So that's at Constant Contact. I touched on a little bit. I know you're all on the Constant Contact list. And, we've really been using that about once a week, maybe every 10 days, sending out reminders, sending out updates and links, making sure that interested parties are always aware of what's happening and what's available online. So I think that we're getting the information out there.
Ms. Blakewell, I want to take a moment. I said this at our executive committee meeting, but I'll say it again for the whole board to hear. I do think you and your team are doing a phenomenal job with getting the information out in a timely fashion, requesting the comments, being completely available. I think having that robust website attached to our website where it's easy to get to with all the videos, the presentations, I'd highly recommend when you talk about this, what we're doing in your own spheres of influence, point them to that direction because everything is there. And if they still have questions, Ms. Boy and her team are absolutely ready to answer for you. So I just want to say you guys have done a phenomenal job shepherding us through this process, so thank you.
Thank you. It's greatly appreciated. And that reminded me of the link to the video has been in the Constant Contact. And it's a less than 5-minute video. If you want to share with your local governments, with your residents, homeowners associations, gives people a flavor of what BrowardNext and the updates about what really the critical topics are. And that was prepared by the county's public communications office for us. So thank you to them also. The next item really is upcoming Planning Council meeting schedule. Things are a little squirrely for February. We're not really positive that we're going to have a meeting, but I would ask that you leave it on the calendar. I will know by next week. So when I send out the meeting schedule for February, it'll either be that the meeting is canceled or that there is going to be a meeting. And then we have a couple of things stacking up for March, so that looks positive. And then if you're on the steering committee, there will definitely be a steering committee at some point, probably maybe before the March meeting, but maybe just the March meeting date. And we'll make sure that we have ample time
You mean
because
February?
I'm sorry?
You mean February?
Well, I don't know. We're not going to have a draft for you to consider
Okay.
for February, but we may want to do something before the March meeting date, just so that you have more than that time, because I think there's going to be more detail that day. It may take you a little bit longer.
I agree.
Okay. Okay,
That's
great.
why I was concerned
So,
about setting expectation, because it's not a discussion that will take 2 minutes.
Agree.
right, so I'll try to sort all that out in the next 10 days for all of you to be aware, but please keep the meetings on your calendar for as of today. I also wanted to just update, many of you were here in October 2022 for the waste management, the Monarch Hill consideration for that discussion. And it's been a long 2.5 years, but I believe the county commission they've continued the hearing several times over the past couple of years, but we have a January 28th date for consideration. And that is not just the county land use plan amendment, that is the Broward Municipal Services District, their version of the amendment, as well as some zoning pieces. So it's actually 4 items, and that is going to be on the commission agenda on Tuesday, January 28th. So I know a lot of people are going to be tuning into that. That is it for the executive director's report. I'm pleased to report that items PH1, PH2, and PH3, there are only applicant, agents, or local governments signed in to speak. There are no members of the public signed in to speak on those items.
Mr. Chair?
Mayor Castillo.
I just want to read in for the record the motion that I made in October of 2022, which was seconded and passed unanimously with respect to Monarch Hill. I just wanted to put it back on the record. This was the motion. I actually wrote it down. While we find no technical fault with staff's recommendation, they had recommended approval. As a matter of urban planning, essential to the implementation of effective land use planning, we cannot recommend expansion of any landfill facilities within Broward County at this time or until the county develops a full comprehensive plan for the disposal of waste. That was the motion. And to my knowledge, we still don't have a comprehensive plan for the disposal of waste in Broward County. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, and just for the record, that is in our backup for, that motion is in our backup for
Thank you.
discussion. Okay, thank you.
You may.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, okay, Michael, hold on one second. Council member?
I think Mayor Ryan probably wants to add the same thing I was going to for the action on this past Friday. Mayor Ryan?
Mayor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mayor Ryan.
In my capacity as Chair of the Governing Board of the Solid Waste Authority of Broward County and the Executive Committee, I want to report that last Friday, as Member Horland was about to outline for us and was there and aware of, is that we have passed a motion by the Executive Committee to send a letter to the County Commission asking that the 4 items that are on the agenda, the 2 LUPA items, the ordinance related to the, oh gosh, take that photo down.
Who is that young guy?
Oh,
It's like before and after.
That's Michelle.
That's the first time.
I'm a perpetual after photo as it is, so the 4 items be deferred until such time as the master plan for the Solid Waste Authority is completed. The ordinance and LUPA combined are intended to expand the horizontal and vertical footprint of the landfill, and the Executive Committee has taken the position that until such time as we have completed the master plan or are in a position to say that either the horizontal or the vertical expansion is consistent with the goals and mission of the Solid Waste Authority, that those items should be deferred. A formal letter is being directed this morning to the County Commission, and I'll make sure, Mr. Chair, that it is directed to staff here at the for distribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Council
Mr.
member?
Chair, Mr. Chair, could we ask the Executive Director to clarify the connection here?
Absolutely, but do you want to hold that just for a second? I'd like to let Commissioner Fisher say a few words.
Mayor Ryan, thank you for that, that action. And not that I disagree with it, but the problem we've had, Mayor, is that it was supposed to be done in December, supposed to be done in February, and now my understanding is the master plan is now scheduled for August, maybe? Is that true? Do we have a timeline? When the...
Yes, Commissioner, I can answer that question, or I can hold my comment until
Mayor
you're
Ryan, go
finished.
ahead. Answer the question, please.
So as we stand today, we're expecting the draft master plan in the coming weeks by the end of this month or the first week in February. We have scheduled a workshop on that draft master plan for February 10th, and we will schedule and have planned to schedule additional workshops each month ahead of time for March, April, and May. It is our expectation that by April, we will have a very good sense of where we are on the solid waste plan. I would, just to footnote this, the Solid Waste Authority has been working as rapidly as possible. We've been meeting each month. There's been an enormous amount of data that has been accumulated and serves as a predicate to the master plan and the draft master plan that we expect. And so the coming months will put this into better focus. I welcome and I want to thank the county for its participation and partnership. I understand that this has been a process. I wish that in 2015 that we had had a better vision of what we were going to do with solid waste. It may have halted the dismantling of the WTE plant. It may have allowed us to implement strategies that are more effective. But we had a significant challenge in all the municipalities back together. But since the formation, the signature of the ILA, we have been moving at a very rapid pace. And I would simply say this, that while there were aspirational expectations for when the draft master plan would be done, it was incredibly aggressive. So this is not a delay in terms of analysis or, as Member Zeman said earlier, the slow pace of government. It's been a matter of accumulating data, getting this into a format that we're ready to have the discussion. I would also note that while there's a claimed exigency for the horizontal and vertical expansion, it is not within the next 6 months. It is within the next 6 to 8 years. And so all we ask is that it be deferred. We're not weighing in on the merits of it. It could very well be that these are appropriate LUPAs and ordinance changes. But it seems to be the better part of vision not to move ahead in a piecemeal fashion until the Solid Waste Authority has weighed in, and we can certainly move even more aggressive at the Commission on this. Thank you.
Mayor Ryan, I just want to continue on. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the letter that you are submitting to the Commission, et cetera, are you going to put in a timeline such that you're going to have workshops in February? What I'm getting at is I want the Broward County Commission to understand that there is a finite coming pretty quickly, because legal has said that much more deferring this item could put us in a legal position. So I don't want to have that. But I do need, I think it would be helpful to the commission that we have some sort of a timeline within that letter that gives us some opportunities in a deferral timeline. We just can't say we're going to defer next month. Are we going to defer in April? Are we going to defer till June? I would hope for that. That would be helpful to me as a commissioner as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher, that's an excellent point. All I can say for right now, the outline is to complete the workshops by April, and that's why we have scheduled all we have the one in February. We are scheduling now the March and April, and we'll actually add one in May in the event that's necessary. I can't give you any better definition of that until we see the draft master plan in the next coming weeks. And I would just say one more time, it is certainly possible that once the draft master plan is distributed, it could be that this necessary deferral is no longer necessary. It may very well be that the recommendation is for either a vertical or horizontal expansion of the landfill. But I appreciate the position that the county's in, and we are not insensitive to that.
Mayor Ryan, will you be here representing the SWA on the 28th?
It is my intent to be present, yes.
I think it would be very beneficial for you to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mayor Castillo.
without objection, I'd like to move PH1, PH2, and PH3.
We have a motion to move PH1, PH2, PH3 by Mayor Castillo, second by Mayor Harden. Further discussion on any of those items? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you for the discussion on the previous item. Excellent. Member comments. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mayor Gomez.
Well, I appreciate the few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, I hope everybody would attend the Forever Friends Pet Expo that myself and Commissioner Maury Wright are hosting on February 22nd from 10 to 1 at Tamarack Park. come adopt your favorite dog, cat, bird, come learn pet CPR, some human CPR, learn about what to do to help your forever friends, and dogs and cats of all ages for people of all ages. So I hope to see you there. And if you have anybody who wants to be a vendor to take care of our love bugs or fur babies, please let me know. Thank you.
Excellent. Other member comments? Dr. Zeman.
Thanks so much, Chair. Just a quick update on a school board matter. This body, the county commission, a handful of municipalities in Broward County have brought up an idea about our old trilateral agreement. It's over 20 years old with 9 specific areas that municipalities agreed to a different compensation system for building school seats rather than just normal impact fees. The Broward County School Board had a long discussion about that a couple weeks ago. We're actively working with those same municipalities. We will also include the other municipalities because it's not just the ones directly affected, but if we decide to shift to just impact fees altogether, that's going to shift the burden to 31 rather than to the 9 municipalities we have. I just want you to know that this panel, this council, and the commission and the municipalities have been heard. We got your letters. Thank you all very much. And we are working on it. We have both our superintendent and our chief facilities officer, Wanda Paul, plus Chris Akabuso, who's here from Broward County Schools, working on that, and they have a due out back to us in the next 60 to 90 days. So we'll keep working on it, and we're working to try and find a revenue-neutral solution that allows developers to do the best things they can do with those cities. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thanks for the update.
Could members even maybe share with the board? I know that you had a meeting yesterday, the school board, and had taken some action with regards to schools and the whole, what's the word?
So if you don't mind, I can give you a 60-second summary.
I don't mind.
If you could.
Okay. We voted yesterday, after a year of work, to close for K through 12 education a single school in Lauderdale Lakes, Broward Estates. The plan that was approved will convert that facility into an early learning center. That'll be our second facility in Broward County, one in Hallandale and one in Lauderdale Lakes, where we've kept facilities open to do wraparound community services, to do early learning and the like. I don't know if that's sustainable forever. That is not our mission. We will have to talk to the municipalities and talk to the county about those things long term. But for the near term, that was the one big decision that we made. We also discussed roughly 33 schools over the next X years if we want to get to a very efficient model. So if we want to spend money actually educating the next generation of Broward County residents, we can't continue to have the footprint like we had when we had 250,000 students. We're at 197,000. We've had a 1% decline in enrollment every year for 23 years. And so I think Broward County schools will continue to think about how to react, how to become more agile. Yesterday, we made a small change. I think under discussion will be, do we make bigger changes over the next few years in terms of working with municipalities to say, if we don't need this land, we don't need this facility, what's the highest and best use for it? Is this, you know, where you need to put a courthouse? Is this a bus station? Is this residential development, maybe for a contribution to low or very low affordable housing? There's lots of different options for this land. My own personal view is public land is owned by the public. It is not owned by the mayor. It is not owned by the county commission. It's not owned by the school board. It is public land because it was paid for by public dollars. And so if we have to take school land and use it for another public purpose, even though there's a transfer of money to do that, that makes great sense. So we also expanded 3 schools from K through 5 to K-8, including Hollywood Central. We did that to try and show our agility to respond to communities' needs. One of the great things about K through 8s, which charters have proven to us, is that you can have your 3rd grade child and your 7th grade child in the same school. And parents really dig that. They really dig having a single place where they can stay for 9 years, and then it gets them to the point where we do very well on school choice, was at the high school level. We have 30 high schools in Broward County. They're incredibly popular. Many of them, like Fort Lauderdale High School, have a very large waiting list. They are, by the way, the 24th best school in the United States.
Wow.
Out of 25,000.
And it happens to be your alma mater.
It happens to be my flying alma mater, but we're trying to wrestle with this big issue. It's a difficult issue to look parents in the eye and say, we need your student to go to another school. One of the opportunities we have is we have the opportunity to move those kids to a school that is performing better.
Yes.
And so if we can use good business principles as we go forward, we'll continue to try and wrestle with those things. And I welcome any input from anybody about how we do this, because this is tough, and there'll be pain in some zip codes to have gain for the entire community. That's what I continue to advocate for, but we'll see kind of at what pace we're able to do that. Chair. Thank you.
Dr. Zeman. Mayor Castillo.
Dr. Zeman, I just want to take a moment to tell you this. What a breath of fresh air you are. I've been sitting on this committee for a long time, and sir, you just come here and you say it in a very businesslike way, and you get to the heart of things, and you're a thinker, and I'm just really, really thankful and impressed.
Here. Thank you. Well stated. Thank you. Further member discussion. I will tell you, it's great to see 14 people here at the same time. This is awesome. I mean, this is phenomenal. And 2 online. This is great. I think we have almost complete, full attendance of the board members except for 1. So thank you all for.
That's the effect of great leadership, Chair.
Well, I don't know what to say now. I don't know what, but I will say one thing. Thank you, Mayor Levy and the other seconds for entrusting us to continue to do what we're doing. And I've said this 1,000 times, but we really do work together, and that's because of all the great information we get well in advance of our meetings. We're not surprised by anything, and that's because of the staff. So again, thank you for all you do, and we are adjourned.